Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1771BN. Today's date is January 21st, 2019, and the title of the episode is Chatter, Tweets, Messages, Last Resort, Patriots on Guard. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they are sending messages back and forth. A lot of them are coded. A lot of them, when you look at them, they're quite scary. What does this mean? It means the deep state is panicking right now, and they are moving towards their last resort. And patriots need to be on guard. But we know that Trump and the Patriots, they understand the plan. Of course, they hear this chatter. They understand the code. They realize what they're up to, and we're going to be getting into that in just a moment. But first, I wanted to start off with this teenager who were with a group of teenagers who were at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and a tribal elder came up and started beating a drum right in front of the kid's face. Now, the mainstream media, they went crazy, and they said that these individuals were harassing this older gentleman. And it turns out the story is completely fake, phony, and false. You can see the extended video of what was really happening. The kids were just minding their own business, and the Native American elder came over to the kids beating the drum and stood in front of their faces. And one of the teenagers, he just stood there. This is Nick Sandman of the Covington Catholic High School. And he is speaking out. He is saying that, yeah, we didn't say anything. Actually, I just stood there. I didn't say a word. He says that when his group arrived at the Lincoln Memorial, he heard 4 African-American protesters were hurling derogatory insults at our school group, including racists, bigots, white crackers, and every other word there. He said, I never interacted with the protesters. I did not speak to him. I did not make any hand gestures or other aggressive moves. To be honest, I was startled and confused as to why he had approached me. He had already been yelled at by another group of protesters, and when the second group approached, I was worried that a situation was going to get out of control where adults were attempting to provoke teenagers. And this is coming from Nick Sandman. He also said that he harbors no ill will against Phillips and respects the right to engage in free speech activities. Now, some of the media, a lot of the media, the mainstream media, they jumped on this, and they went with this, and they said, finally, we have something, and we're going to play this up. So Anna Navarro of CNN tweeted out the following. Must-watch Native American elder taunted by racist MAGA hat-wearing teens, speaks and cries for America, the country he defended and sacrificed and wore the uniform for. It is people like Nathan Phillips who make America great. Thank you for your dignity. Senator Elizabeth Warren, she tweeted out, Omaha elder and Vietnam War veteran Nathan Phillips endured hateful taunts with dignity and strength, then urged us all to do better. Listen to his words. Now, remember, Nathan Phillips said these individuals were taunting him, yelling at him. It's completely fake, phony, and false. The National Review, well, they deleted their article, but they wrote an article, the Covington students might as well have had just spit on the cross. Now, they deleted it. What are they finding out? They're finding out it didn't happen the way they thought it happened. And a lot of the mainstream media journalists, they are now deleting their tweets. Now, Anna Navarro, Elizabeth Warren at this time, they have not deleted their tweets as of this report. Maybe they will going down the line. We see Jake Tapper sent a tweet out. At Reason, video footage strongly contradicts Native American veteran Nathan Phillips' claim that Covington Catholic High School boys harassed him. The media got this one completely wrong. Interesting. Molly Hemingway tweeted out, a lot of journalists need to quickly apologize for their roles in spreading false information in recent days. Be it the evidence, free BuzzFeed, false report wild speculation about Trump, or leading a misinformed outrage mob against children, or both. Now, the question is, why did the mainstream media jump on this story so quickly? Why were they pushing it so hard? Now, before we get into that, I just want to read a couple of other tweets here. Representative John Yarmouth tweeted out the following. I'm calling for a total and complete shutdown of teenagers wearing MAGA hats until we can figure out what is going on. Of course, as you can see, these individuals always say ban or shut down or let's get rid of. I mean, that's part of the agenda, but that's not the full agenda. He went on to say, they seem to be poisoning young minds. Now, this story right now is fake. They were pushing a fake story. They were trying to get traction, and they were going to use it for many other reasons. And I think there's a main reason why they were going to use this. But what's very interesting is that this is coming out of Breaking News Live. They tweeted out, we're told from one of the students attending Covington Catholic that there are a ton of lawsuits coming, an unbelievable amount of lawsuits, adding that parents are pissed. Twitter right now, with what has happened here, will not suspend certain accounts that are threatening these children, which is very interesting because this goes completely against their terms of service. So what was the agenda here? Well, one, make it look like Trump supporters are crazy, and these crazy Trump supporters will attack old men, and especially a Native American who is old. They were trying to push that agenda. Is that the main agenda? I don't think so. Another agenda, try to show Trump supporters as haters and racists. Well, that will go in line with what they've been saying all along, but I don't think this is the main agenda. Yes, these are part of an agenda, but I don't think it's the main agenda. I believe it is all of these, but I think it goes much further than this, and they wanted to use this for something else, but it backfired on them. They started out with saying that, look at these kids wearing MAGA hats. They attacked this old man. They wanted to use hate. They wanted to use racism, and that's how they were going to start. But before we get into the main agenda, I want to just talk about what happened with Fox and Friends. They showed a graphic that made it seem like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was dead. They put it up, and it gave her year that she was born to 2019, which normally means, the person died. Was this an accident? Was it a coincidence they put this up? Maybe, maybe not. I don't believe in coincidences. But they apologized for putting this up. And they said they were very sorry. But I want to go back to post 2670. This was January 11th, 2019. And Q put up, within this post, 2653. This is all about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all her laws and what she has done. Below this, it says, at what point is it mathematically impossible? The very next day. The very next day, all of a sudden the news came out and said she was getting better. Everything's great. Q went on to say Red Castle, Green Castle, public access to intel. Q. Then we move to post 2671. Same day, Q says, if a woman is selected as the nominee, does that eliminate the wrap-up smear, re sexual assault? What other tactics might be planned to block and or force name removal? Why is the Senate important? Who controls the Senate? 53 to 47. Enjoy the show. So let's go back to the incident with the Catholic boys from the school. The deep state, the mainstream media, were trying to push this hard. The question is why. Q asked what type of smear tactic would the mainstream media use if it was a woman who was nominated to be the Supreme Court Justice. This brings us to Amy Barrett. She is a Catholic. And it seems they were projecting and getting ready to use this against her. Look at the headlines when she was a possible nominee. Now, this is coming out of Slate. Amy Coney Barrett is allegedly a member of a religious group that has been called a cult. This is from the New York Times. Some worry about judicial nominees' ties to a religious group. This is coming from the Washington Post. The story behind potential Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's little-known Catholic group, People of Praise. So it looks like the main agenda, and yes, other things came along with it, they were going to use this against her. or any other woman that came into play, but it might be her, because we know from Q's post that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is next, and that will allow Trump to pick somebody else. So we can see that there was a main agenda associated with this event, but it completely backfired on the deep state, on the mainstream media. Now they're backpedaling. Now, we are still in the longest shutdown ever. We're approaching 30 days right now. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to negotiate, and I do believe that Trump is just waiting for the 30-day marker. Now, Blueprint Q lays out what he thinks is going to happen. Number one, a short reduction in force, RIF. Title V, Code of Federal Regulations, CFR Part 351, reduction in force. According to the Congressional Research Service, America has experienced 19 shutdowns since 1976, ranging from a single day to 21 days. The 20-day shutdown in 1995 was a famous budget showdown between Clinton and Newt Gingrich. 3. Shutdowns stem constitutionally. Article 1, Section 9. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequences of appropriations made by law, reinforced by Anti-Deficiency Act stemming from a revised 1870 law. Number 4. Here's a summary of the all-time revisions made to reductions in force, and gives a document, and you can read this if you like. Number 5. Per law, agencies are required to use the RIF procedures when faced with separation downgrading for reasons such as reorganization, lack of work, shortage of funds. Shutdowns exceeding 30 calendar or 22 discontinuous workdays is also a RIF action. Number 6, regulated by 5 CFR 351.201, after 30 days, each agency shall determine who to furlough and is responsible for determining which positions are required, where they are to be located, and where they are to be filled, abolished, or vacated. Number 7, further supported by page 11 of the December 2018 NOAA Office of Human Capital Services furlough questions and answers, which he's pointing to this document where you can get additional answers and questions to how this happens. Question number 8. Shutdowns and RIFs are overseen by the U.S. Office of Personnel Management and Office of Management and Budget, which operates to ensure such activities executed in compliance with federal law. 9. To cite American Thinker, it is not if a 30-day RIF is applicable, because it is, but when, technically, the clock started ticking and if agencies will begin the process required for RIF compliance. Number 10. I think more important than the RIF, however, is the judicial shutdown underway and the resulting activation of the U.S. Marshal Service and courts-martial as a result. 11. This concludes my short reduction in force thread, and he goes on giving the different codes and stuff like that. But he gave 3 different links on number 10 where he said, I think more important than the RIF, however, is the judicial shutdown underway and the resulting activation of the U.S. Marshal Service and courts-martial as a result. And if we look at these, we see the following. The first one is New York Times, federal courts running out of money, brace for shutdowns pain. And the other link is a courts-martial and tribunal thread, which Blueprint Q went over, and we reported on this. It says Executive Order 13825, 2018 amendments to the Manual for Courts-Martial United States, Annex 2, amendments took effect January 1st, 2019. Annex 1, amendments took effect on the date of the order, March 1st, 2018. And we see that everything is prepared for courts-martial and the U.S. Marshal Service working together. And I do believe that Trump is going to drain the swamp in a massive way and usher in the U.S. Marshal, maybe to start rounding up individuals. Now, out in France, we know the Yellow Vests, their movement has rattled the French establishment. For several months, crowds ranging from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands have been taking to the streets taking to the streets every weekend across the entire country of France. They've had enormous success extracting major concessions from the government. What's very interesting is that the Yellow Vest movement has gone global. Bulgaria, Yellow Vest began protesting the same weekend as the French movement. Canada, Yellow Vest protests have taken place in more than a dozen cities across Canada. Egypt, an Egyptian lawyer was arrested and jailed for 15 days after he posted a picture of himself wearing a yellow vest in support of the French protests. Finns came out in force in mid-December. Germany, marching in solidarity with the French. German Yellow Vests similarly came out against the UN Migration Pact. Ireland, hundreds of people gathered in the center of Dublin to protest perceived failures of the government. Israel, Yellow Vests held a rally at the Center Mall in Tel Aviv. Italy, there have been several ongoing Yellow Vest protests in Italy over the last several months. Netherlands, the Dutch joined the party at the beginning of December. Pakistan, hundreds of engineers came out in December to protest government services and pay. Poland, Polish Yellow Vests protest in November-December, blocking the A2 motorway outside of Warsaw. Portugal, on December 21st, Yellow Vest rally was held under the slogan Vamos para Portugal, roughly translating to Let's bring Portugal to a halt. Russia, Yellow Vest protest right before Christmas in Moscow. Serbia, they protested there. Taiwan, they protested there. Tunisia, they protested there. United Kingdom, UK Yellow Vests are mostly right-wing, pro-Brexit groups who have held rallies in London and other UK cities. It is spreading. If we go back to Q's post 2530, back in December 2nd, 2018, Q says, "What you are witnessing in France has nothing to do with gas." Brackets bold, forced narrative. Vive la France. And you can see it is spreading across the world. We see that the next North Korea-U.S. summit is going to be held in Vietnam, and it looks like peace is on its way. We see the Taliban, they're holding talks with the U.S. in Qatar, and they're trying to hammer out peace deals there. And of course, it's off to a rocky start, but I believe it's going to get done. We see Israel. They are firing missiles into Syria in the Damascus area. And the IDF said something very interesting. The IDF has warned Syria not to respond, which appears to be unheeded because Syria fired off many missiles and intercepted a lot of Israeli missiles. So what is Israel doing right now? I think it is a mop-up operation. I think they are hitting specific targets. Remember, Israel, UK, Germany, United States, all part of the deep state coalition. They had bases, they had information there, and I believe they're trying to mop up everything in that area before all the U.S. troops are out, before Syria completely takes over the country, and they find out what was really happening. So it looks like they're trying to mop up as much as they possibly can. Now, very interestingly, yesterday we looked at Donna Brazile at her message. And now the message was, and she tweeted this out, "Madam Speaker, today, President Pelosi shortly thereafter, MLK weekend is underway. Keep hope alive." We know that Nancy Pelosi warned Trump not to give the State of the Union because of security concerns. And Trump came out and said, listen, we don't have to worry about security concerns. DHS Secret Service tweeted out, we have it covered. But Trump also tweeted out that he's thinking about it and he knows what they're up to. Now, what's very interesting is that there are more messages and chatter that are going back and forth right now. Now, Donna Brazile tweeted out something very interesting. She wrote, "Leaving something behind." Then there was a picture of a $10 bill, a $5 bill, and a note, $15. And under that it says here, I can't read this other word here, but then it says "You on MLK Day." Now remember, she wrote "leaving something behind," and it's a 10 and a 15. Now if we look at this, Hamilton is on the 10. Lincoln is on the 5. What do they have in common? Well, they were both killed. Hamilton was killed in a duel, and he was going up against Aaron Burr. Lincoln, as we know, he was assassinated. Now, this is very interesting. Hamilton and Lincoln. Keep that in the back of your minds. Because then we have Hillary Clinton. This is her tweet. 9 years since Citizens United. The amount of money in politics hasn't changed dramatically. But who funds politics has. A handful of donors who make multi-million-dollar contributions. The result, disastrous laws like Trump's tax giveaway to the rich. Now, in the picture, it's a $5 bill, and it's the Lincoln Memorial with Lincoln sitting there. Lincoln was assassinated. Hamilton was killed. Lincoln, in Donna Brazil's tweet, was assassinated. We also have her first tweet, where it says, Madam Speaker today, President Pelosi short after, MLK weekend is underway. So to me, it seems like there are messages going back and forth talking about killing, assassination. And we know from Trump, from his tweet, that they understand and they're prepared for what they're planning. It seems like the deep state, this is their last resort. They need to get rid of Trump at all costs. So Patriots, be on guard. It looks like something is about to happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.